Now that I had a chance to check out one of the biggest films this year at Tribeca, I'm very excited to talk about it. And you'll get to see it soon too, because it will be on Netflix. But nonetheless, let's talk about J-Lo's new documentary, Halftime. What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the new film Halftime, which made its world premiere at Tribeca Film Festival 2022 and will be releasing on Netflix June 14th. Now, this powerful documentary about J-Lo, and we're not getting the entire story of J-Lo, because that would probably need like 10 parts. I mean, she's been successful since day one. She's iconic. She's very notable in so many different things. But this sort of focuses on her career in around 2019 up into current. And those were some huge years for her. And I mean, to kind of eye in why these years were very important, because this was sort of her getting back on the scene, after she's had her kids and, trying to get back into the mix of things and whatnot. And she talked about that as well, too, in this documentary. She talked about her upbringing. Her mother was able to be a part of this as well, too. Talked about raising her and her siblings and so on. But they didn't focus so much on that. They focused more, like I said, on 2019, which, again, 2019, especially 2020, were huge years for her. And with those years being locked in, I mean, we're talking about the movie Hustlers, which I reviewed, which I thought was fantastic. I really loved that story. J-Lo's performance was amazing, and not just her performance, but obviously with her being director of the film as well too. I think she wrote the film as well, but nonetheless, her being in front of the camera and behind the camera, she did her thing. But she was snubbed from the Oscars, as we all know, and that just didn't make any sense, like, at all. But that's another story for another time, but she also addresses that as well too. But also the other big thing in this year was the Super Bowl halftime performance, which was a really good halftime performance. But beyond that, that's the biggest game of the year. And everybody, whether you are a football fan or not, everybody is looking forward to the halftime show, along with the commercial, but the halftime show, which she did the halftime with Shakira, and she also talked about that too. And I also know some of those headlines and some of the quotables from this has already been released about her saying she kind of regret doing it with Shakira, which is nothing against her, to clear that up. That's because they really was like really limited and strict about their time, and she just felt like it wasn't justice enough to give, J-Lo gets 6 minutes, Shakira gets 6 minutes, and then they got to wrap it up. And like, that's kind of criminal, considering that J-Lo has a catalog long as day, and so does Shakira, and like 6 minutes, like, come on now. And like, they're not just performing as just talented artists, but like, they're putting on for the culture, and you gotta let them express that a little bit. But she drew all the concerns and all her reserves and frustrations with Super Bowl 54 in Miami, which was a good game, but still, that was kind of seeing behind the scenes about that was kind of like, okay, well, yep, the NFL doing what the NFL does best, wanting her to like remove the cages that she did have in the show, but they wanted her to remove it because they was like, oh, you're making a political statement, we don't want you to do that. But it wasn't a political statement. She was actually just simply putting what we all should be focusing on, and that's talking about human rights, and that's what she did, and sit there standing in the show and whatnot. So, but I think the biggest thing for me in this was like, obviously just her resilience. J-Lo is incredibly strong, and I am guilty as well, because at the time J-Lo was kind of like a running tabloid, she was always at some point just in the tabloids for whatever it may be, some joke, some type of gag, or whatever it may be, but totally a tabloid fixture to a T. And like, she has feelings, and she's really successful. Like, you don't knock her. No one's knocking her because of her success, but because of her failed relationships or just anything else. I mean, you got night shows, tabloids, South Park, all these different things is beating on her, and you start to see this from another lens, and then you're like, that's kind of not fair. And she has feelings, and like, the fact of how she was able to keep it together all these years is just a testament to her upbringing and just who she is. And I just, like I said, I just kind of felt kind of like, wow, I gotta, reevaluate that, because for myself, I knew, like, I thought it was kind of funny, like, oh yeah, she's collecting another ring like Thanos and whatnot. But like, while that's funny, but also not funny, because like, that's really a person who has big feelings, that was going through things. Relationships don't always work, and like, the fact that like she was continuously beating the beaten horse for this was kind of messed up. And then when you think about all the success she had and all the hard work, and everybody's telling her like, oh, you got it this time for Hustlers, and then she doesn't get nominated and gets snubbed. I mean, like, that's a lot for her to have to go through. And then like, even kind of reflecting back into her earlier stage of her career, where they were like, oh, well, you're just a dancer, or you're just a singer. But she's like, no, I'm an actor too. I can do all these things. And her learning confidence over the years, just the story of her resilience and just how strong she is. And and everything she does really isn't for self. It's for the culture. And seeing her in these moments where you're seeing these younger Latinas and Latinos and Latinas looking up to her, and how just empowered they feel to be around her, and just how she just continuously want to give back, to use her platform to really inspire this next generation of Latinos and Latinas. And like, that's powerful. And even at the age of 50, which she looks fantastic, by the way. I mean, we always known that she looked fantastic. She's 52 now, but like, being up and close and personal with her, like, she's the real deal. Like, she looked amazing at 50, but it was just good to see her raw and personal. It was just really dope. And like, the other thing, obviously everybody always talks about her butt, but like, even looking back at some of the inappropriate comments she was getting from folks about her butt, like big time interviews, and they're talking about her butt, and like, having to go through that, she never broke. She continued to stay strong. And maybe even in this documentary, we only saw one side of it, but like, for that side, she looked incredibly strong. But I have no clue how she didn't break down behind the scenes for all the things she endured, like, for real. And how she is proud to be an American, but not just an American, but a Puerto Rican. And I think how she wears those flags on her back with such pride is another powerful thing in itself. So, but I think that this was a really good documentary, because there's always the question of, what is this documentary going to show different, more, or new? And for this case, it's just like being personal with J-Lo. Like, it was truly special. And even all the way to the point where she, from doing Hustlers all the way to her singing at the inauguration for Joe Biden, she just is just fantastic, very talented. And just, as she said, she has so much more to give and so much more to say, and I'm looking forward to that. And she has endless records, endless films, big social media presence. She's the real deal, and we all knew that. But like, being close and personal with her, it was truly special. So, but hey, I know everybody's going to check this out because it's dropping on Netflix. It will be trending #1 on Netflix without a doubt. Halftime, folks. Let me know in the comments when you do, and as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.